Hello and good day, everybody. Jeremiah here from Undergun Productions with another episode of Into the Box for you guys. So I've decided to make this month Compression Month. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to release some videos on the topic of compression. Show you guys how I use compression within my mixes, share some of the tips and tricks I've learned over the years with you guys on compression, and also really just dive into how we can use compression creatively within our mixes. Some of you guys have seen and heard my mixes, and you see I use a lot of compression on all the elements within my mix, but I also make sure my mixes never sound over compressed, so I can show you guys how I achieve some of those results. So when I'm using compression within my mix, of course, I'm using it to control the dynamics within some of the tracks within the track, but most importantly, I'm using it creatively to add color, saturation, warmth, analog emulation, because today some of these new plugins that are emulating the classic compressors of the day are doing such a great job that I just can't get enough of that. So I'm just really pushing things and seeing how far I can push with that compression within my mix to take my mix to a whole new level. So hopefully I can share some of that insight. Also, I'm going to give you guys a look at some of my favorite compressor plugins that I've been using and show you some different ways to use them within your mix and mix it up. So for you guys who are maybe all new to this and you're saying, well, what is compression? Let's start right now with this episode of Into the Box with a basic understanding of compression. Compression is the tool we as mixing engineers use to control the dynamic range within the tracks within our mix. So the first thing we want to look at is our threshold. The threshold is what we set to determine how much we're pushing back the audio and the peaks and transients of that track we have our compressor set up on. So you never really ever want to over compress anything unless that's a desired effect you're looking to achieve. But say you're just warming up to your compressor, I would pull that back to minus 10 dB and make sure your audio is pushing into it. And usually on the meter you can see how much gain reduction you're getting. So set it up so you're achieving about 6 decibels of gain reduction, no matter what you put it on, just as a good starting point for right now. Next, we have our ratio, and the ratio is the muscle. That's how much we're pushing back on anything that goes above that threshold. So say we have a 2-to-1 ratio. It's just going to kind of tap things, right? 4-to-1 is going to be a little bit more aggressive. 6-to-1 even more. 10-to-1 we're going to start squishing. 20-to-1 we're just going to be flattening and really just taking the dynamics out of that track. So keep that in mind. Your ratio is how much muscle you are applying and pushing back on anything above the threshold. Next, we have our attack time and our release time. And our attack and release determine how fast we are grabbing and compressing that audio that comes above the threshold. So for example, say you got a snare track and you want that transient crack to ring through. You don't want to destroy that. You're going to set your attack time a little slower so that snare hit can come up, and then the compressor is going to grab it, push it back, and then the release time determines on how long we're going to hold on to that. So say you have a track and the tempo is pretty fast and that snare's just pounding away. You're going to want a fast release time so it doesn't hold it back and interfere with the next hit coming up. So keep that in mind. The faster the tempo, the faster the release time. Something you got to kind of use your ear with, and that takes a little bit of playing around with to get used to setting your attack and release. Another example would be you got a bass track and the bass player was just hitting the strings with his pick so hard that those pick hits are kind of jumping out way too much and annoying to the ear. So now you're going to want a faster attack time to tame those transients on the pick attack, and then maybe a quicker release to let the rest of the bass note ring through. So a couple tips on attack and release. Now we've pushed things back, we've attacked it, we got the ratio set, and we're bringing everything back down, kind of taming things. But by doing all this, we've reduced the volume now. So the last thing we want to look at is our makeup gain. So some people go by the rule of how much gain reduction has been applied is how much you're going to turn up your makeup gain. But there is really no set rule. Myself, I like using my compressors to get a little extra volume throughout my gain staging process within my mixes. So I'll crank it up using my ear. Sometimes a track might be a little bit hot in your mix, so you can actually back that off, vice versa. I'll almost use that as a bit of a volume control. So there is a basic breakdown of what compression is. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about using compression creatively over the next few weeks, show you guys some great tips and tricks, and hopefully help us all get a little bit better understanding of how we can use compression within our mixes right here on Into the Box. Cheers, guys.